y'all. Today I'm going to do a digital image, and I have some new stencils from Froyle Davies. I love her work so much. It's really just right up my alley. So I made some gel prints, and these were just done very fast and very furious. And I'm just going to kind of go over them really quick. That was just a pull. This was a 2 or 3 color pull, I can't remember. And I offset them on purpose because I wanted a little bit of design. And I was really just using whatever was on my table because I knew I was going to photograph them and use them digitally. I think this is my favorite one, and I believe this is the one I end up using. And then there was so much paint on my stencils that I thought I would photograph that because I liked the way it looked and I liked the stark white design. And when I combine these on the iPad, they're going to be really cool. And I'm going to show you that here very quickly because I've already gone over the app that I most often use to as a starting off or jumping off point. And that is, I'm sorry about that switch, as a jumping off point. And that is this app called Photoda. And what it will do is it automatically takes images and blends them. And you can actually choose a folder that you want to pull from. It doesn't, otherwise it'll just pull from your recent. And you just tap it in the middle and it will blend anywhere from 2 to 8 different images. I like this one a lot. You can save what you've made, and you can kind of tap the little envelope, the little stack on the left-hand side, the very first button down at the bottom, and you can see which images it used to create this one. And you can reblend if you wish, and you can just keep on going with this reblend button until you don't like it anymore. And it's just going to blend these 3 images up here. Now, if you want to reblend everything, then you're going to tap in the middle and you'll get a different image. I've gone over this app in detail in at least 2 other videos of mine, so I'm not going to go over this in detail. But I used this image to produce, let's see, let me pull the folder up, to produce this image here. And I combined the papers I did with Froyle with one of my images. And while this is not nowhere near going to be the final image, you can see that we've started off with a small outline. It has used the image that I want to use to blend with this. So this is where we're going to start with the project. So I'm going to get started. The first app I'm going to go into is Art Studio Pro. I do use this app most of the time for my digital work. I use others too, but this is where I can layer everything, and this is the final image, and as you can see, I can keep all my layers in a row and everything just works. So I'm going to go back out and we're going to create a new document by going up to the plus sign. And I'm going to choose the 2400 by 3000 pixels at 300 DPI. Now I will say I am not able to show you the cursor as I'm going along. That capability I do not have with my iPad Pro. You can they said you could turn on your accessibility options, and that works until you go into an app, and then it won't work inside of an app. So I can't show you exactly where I'm tapping, so you'll have to just bear with me as I explain. So the first thing that we're going to do here is I'm going to add my background. So I'm going to go down to this, and I'm going to add my background, and I'm going to reposition it. Whoops. First thing I'm going to do is turn on my aspect ratio, because I do want it to continue to be a rectangle. Let's get my corners. Let's make this whole thing so I can see it. And actually, maybe I'm going to turn it off so I can get it to be exactly where I want it. Okay. Little adjustment. Sometimes when it has these lines, it's hard to see where your edge is. So that's going to work for me. And so now I'm going to go in and grab that figure that we used, which is going to be this one right here. And what I'm going to do, select my X there. I want to get rid of the white on the outside, but not on the inside of the image. So I'm just going to tap into it with my magic wand, and I'm going to cut it out like that. Then I'm going to deselect. And so there I have my image. Now, I want just this image like this, and I want the transparent background. So I'm going to save this as a PNG, which does preserve the transparent background. I'm going to export that out to my camera roll, and I'll show you why in a minute. So let's get this back here, and I'm going to drop my opacity on this top image down just because this is not going to be the image that I actually use. I'm just using this to line everything up. So now I'm going to jump off into Procreate. Now Procreate is a really good app. I don't use it as much because I don't draw very often. So I'm going to choose this image that we just saved. And it looks like it imported it with a background. And if I turn the background off, I have just the image. So in Procreate, we're going to outline this, and I'm going to make this a little bit darker so that we can see what's going on. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add a layer because I don't want to work on my main image. So I'm going to choose the brush, and it's already set on the brush that I want, but I could choose any other brush that I wanted to. And I'm going to start off with black. I'm going to pull this up a little bit so I can see it. And actually, I'm going to go back down to this layer. I'm going to erase this little tail right here. I don't know why that's on there. Go back to my new layer. Okay, so now I'm going to just kind of go around this figure. And I'm using a brush that's just a little bit crooked and has some kind of jagged properties to it, which I like. So I'm just going to start outlining this, maybe refining the figure a little bit. And I'll move this image in a minute as soon as I get Procreate does a fabulous job with brushes. You can get your brush to do anything you want. You can create new brushes. It really is wonderful in that regard. I just don't tend to use it much because I don't draw as often as I probably should. And I'm going to add some detail in here. And I may have to go back down to the original image with that eraser tool because this is bugging me over here. There we go. Okay, so go back up here. And I think I want to kind of go, oh, I'm on the eraser. There we go. Kind of right across there. All right, now I want to go up and create another layer, and I want to choose a different brush, and I'm going to choose one that has a little bit more of this uneven stuff, and I'm going to maybe make him a little bit bigger. I'm going to test it. Yeah, that'll work. And I've created this new layer because I don't want to mess up what I already have. So just remember that. And he's just going to give me a little bit more of a jagged edge. And I'm just going to do this in black. You could choose to do it with just about any other color, but I'm just drawing around him. I like abstract figures, so I'm just making him pretty abstract. Maybe give him a little white hat there. Wait, what happened there? I wonder why that went over to the eraser. I don't have my little glove on right now, and sometimes when you hold your hand up against the iPad, it can do strange things. I usually have a little glove that I wear. I'm right-handed, so it covers up my right pinky and ring finger, and that way I can rest my hand on the iPad and have it not do stuff like that, where it just jiggles it back and forth. Okay, so I'm done with this. I am going to go back and I'm going to turn off the background, and I'm going to save this. I'm going to export this out. I'm going to share it as a PNG again, and that will preserve the transparency, and it's a really nice file size. It doesn't do any file compression. So now I'm going to go back into Art Studio Pro, and I'm going to add my little new image. And then we're going to try to line him up. And he lines up perfectly. I don't know how that happened. No, actually I do know how that happened, but it lines up, which is very good. And so now I want him to blend with the other one down below. So I'm going to choose the blend mode, multiply. And see, that just takes away the white in the image. And with blend modes, the best way I can describe it is darken, multiply, color burn, linear burn, and darker color. This group that has multiply in it, those all work by combining the images and ignoring the white in the image. So they're going to make things darker. The next group, and you can see there's a small line, I don't know if you can see it, but it does divide these into separate categories. Lighten, screen, color dodge, linear dodge, and lighter color. All of those work by removing the blacks in the two images. So it's going to make everything lighter and blown out. Overlay, soft light, hard light, vivid light, linear light, pen light, and hard mix, those all work a little bit differently. They ignore certain parts of the mid-tones and the mid-grays, and difference and exclusion, subtract and divide all do weird things. They have this weird algorithm. I'll show you what difference looks like. It just kind of makes it opposite. So whatever, these are all mathematical algorithms that they use to make these blend modes. All I know is they make the image do things that I want it to do. So moving forward, now we are going to add, I want to add something in the middle here. And so I'm going to do that by adding another image. And I'm going to go down and add this other gel print that was, this is actually just, I had a palette, a gel plate that had leftover paint on it. And so I just added a layer of, I think it was gold, or I can't remember, but I stuck a stencil on it and pulled it up. So that's how this image came to be. And I only want it, I don't want it very big because I'm just going to use it right about here. Okay, I think that'll work. And so I'm going to play with the blend mode here, and I want something odd like linear light, vivid light, hard light, soft light, and overlay. Those aren't quite enough. I like what vivid light does, so I'm going to drop my opacity for that to right about here. And now I don't want it over the whole image, so I'm going to add a layer mask, and I'm going to reveal all, and I'm going to paint with black. I could erase it over the rest of the image, but this way, if I make a mistake, I can go back and correct it. So I've got black, and I want to adjust my brush settings, because I do want to remove it from a lot of the image, except that middle portion. So I'm just going to draw, literally paint everywhere I don't want that image. You might be able to see some of it. It's very, very hard. I'm working on trying to figure out a way to show you the cursor, but I haven't figured out one yet. So I'm still working on that. Okay, now that added a little bit more interest in the middle, and I am going to go back down to that image, and I'm going to move it around and play with it until I get it exactly where I want it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move this where I think I have the most interest. I might even resize it a little bit. And because I'm within this mask, I can do that. If I had erased it before doing this, I would not be a happy camper. All right, I think I like that the best. And so now I'm going to go up to my mask, and I'm going to repeat all of the areas around here because I'm just not sure. All right, there we go. Okie doke. Now I'm going to save this whole image to my camera roll, and then I'm going to bring it back in, and I'm going to save it as a PNG. The reason I do this is so that when I work on the image from here, I'm working on the entire image and not just a layer of the image. Otherwise, if I wanted to adjust something, I would only be adjusting the level that it's on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust my levels, which means I'm going to make it darker. I'm going to increase some of the saturation. I'm just going to play with the image until I get it to look like I want it to look. I think that's pretty good. All right, I think I have one more thing I want to do. My figure drawing, as well as parts of the background, have a olive green color. And I want to bring more of that color into the image because I think it will unify the image a little bit more. So I'm going to add a layer, and I'm going to try to paint what I want on this layer. I'm going to tap my finger over the color that I want and hold down until I get the color. That's the color I want to paint with. I'm going to grab a paintbrush. I'm going to lower my brush size a bit. And I'm going to paint that color in here. And yes, I know it looks very weird. It's trust the process kind of a moment here. I'm not painting exact either. I don't do a lot of things exact. I'm just kind of winging it here. So we're going to do that. And maybe I'll add some of it right in here. But wherever I add this color, let's erase it here. I don't really want it right there. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. So now, through the magic of blend modes, I'm going to choose soft light and see how that brought it into a much more manageable look. And I actually might lower the opacity just a little bit. I just want a little bit of that tone just to bring the image together a little bit more. So let's pull this out. I have my, okay. So I'm going to export this image as a PNG because now I'm going to add an edge to it. The image I think is finished, but I like these funny edges and frames. So I'm going to go into an app called Chromatic Edges, which I love chromatic edges. So I'm going to bring it in to this app to put a frame on it. There it is. So I always start by my own little presets. I mean, you could go in here and start with an edge and see where you like to go, and you can use any of the templates that they have in here. Was it this one that I was using? See, I can't even remember which one I was using. I don't like that, but I'm just kind of looking through and seeing which ones I like, and I do like this one. Maybe I'll lighten the color up just a little bit. Nope, I don't want it that much. Just pull it. Nope, not that either. So you can play with it. Color edge. I really don't want the color edge to be that much color. You can play with these settings and get what you want. And so now I'm going to save this back out. And the last step that I'm going to do for this is I'm going to actually go back into Art Studio Pro. I'm going to add this image in here as it is, because this way I know what I did, and I can even rename my image here. I can go up to where this says layer 10, grab my keyboard, and put CE, Chromatic Edges. Just tap out of it. And I can name this layer so that I know in the future what app I did. A lot of times if I put a filter on something, I will put the filter number or the name of the app I went into. This way I always know. And let's just say that I think the frame is a bit too much. I can always drop the opacity on it, which I actually kind of think I like, and save it again. So by keeping everything in a non-destructive form like this, I can go back in and edit this image in any way I want to. But I really enjoy working with Froyle's designs, her stencils, her digital papers. I do like her style. I feel like it's abstract, and I like abstract art. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video. This is how I did this image, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.